Let me guess, you from the town that I love best. Talk Memphis, I wish you would. Talk Memphis, you sound so good.
But let's jump right into it. Dan, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We last week we were off. We had some vacations and different things we were doing, but I'm glad to be back in here today. So let's jump into this Memphis zip codes. Memphis is a unique city, and I only know this because I hear this from all over the country from different investors.
Yep.
And the fact that our zip codes, we've got a ton of zip codes for one, and it is extremely zip code specific on, where you want to be and what you're going to get when you go into these zip codes. It's a lot of investors are like, you got to be kidding me. It jumps from one zip code to the other, but we're going to break this down. And even in some of these zip codes, it jumps from street to street.
Yes.
And what I mean by jump from street to street is goes from good to bad to worse, all in the same zip code, all within 3 or 4 blocks of each other. So we're going to dive right into this. Let's talk about, when you hear Memphis zip codes and you think, hey, Dan, where would you go and what would you not do? What are some of the, first ones we can talk about? And then what's kind of your opinion on the zip code breakdown, really?
I think it's one of the most important decisions you make when you invest in Memphis. I think, and before we end the show, I want you to ask me about my call I had last night from an investor in California.
Okay.
It was a doozy.
A call from an investor in California. All right. Is it related to zip codes?
Zip codes, absolutely.
Okay.
Because he told me the street and knew the zip code, and I was like, oh, no.
All right.
I just knew how the conversation was going to go. So remind me to tell you about that.
I sure will. I love the stories. You have more of these than anybody that I know.
That's right. I don't know why I get these calls, but zip codes to me is, it was the most important decision I made when I first started out. When I started, I was under the premise of start as close to your house as possible. You read a lot of books, and especially when you're doing it on your own, without the team and property management and real estate agents and all
for obvious reasons, the travel.
Yeah. That's right. The logic makes sense.
Yep.
But then you realize if you want to go farther, the fastest you can, you got to figure out another way. You can't just stick to that one zip code because there's a ton of other people looking at that zip code.
It's going to be tough to buy 100 houses in your own neighborhood.
That's right.
Or right around it.
So I knew quickly I had to expand that horizon and really what zip codes was I willing to go in Memphis, which ones was I not. I go from 1 to call it 20, but there's still some that I, to this day I don't, haven't invested and maybe never will, or if I have, I'm not going to anymore.
Right.
So there's some of that key learnings I've had over the years.
Let me ask you this before we dive into the specific zip codes. Has any, since you started in 01, am I right?
01, yeah.
Has there been a zip code that has just literally taken a 180?
To the good or bad?
I know, it doesn't matter. Any 180 flip. From good to bad or bad to good or whatever it may be. And
I mean, Whitehaven sticks out to me from a 180 to good.
Yeah.
I think, and I wasn't around. I feel like it was really good. Retail, homeowners. We actually drove by one of our, we had a meeting down in Mississippi yesterday and drove by one of our first tax sale houses and kind of brought back memories of back then. But, then it flipped, because everybody got foreclosed on. So that was kind of a state of despair. But then with all the activity that's going on down there with Elvis and Graceland and, the businesses and people pouring into that community, I feel like it's on the up and up. So that's one that's, what about you?
I think 118, that, and I think it's gone a tick to the bad side. I mean, maybe not 180, but it's leaned at, it's been, you guys have heard me on the show talk about, this is one of my favorite zip codes and it still is, but it's not necessarily the entire zip code anymore. We're coming down into some tighter pockets.
Yep.
A little history lesson. If you're looking at the map of Memphis and you look at 38116, it's just south of the city or the loop. And 38127 and 38128 are just north. I mean, literally directly north. And as the city began to mature, I'm talking in the 50s and 60s, Whitehaven and the Fraser Raleigh area were premier subdivisions. Whitehaven was your high-end luxury area. I mean, Elvis Presley bought a home there.
Right.
You can still go over there today and see some 3,000 square foot homes, like a ton of
we
them.
own one.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The first,
yeah. So there's a ton of those type of family-oriented homes, and then it takes a dive in the 80s and 90s, and then now it takes a dive with the whole market. Well, now I believe that it's coming back some. So that it was a great answer that 38116 has gone from premier, a desirable living community, to everybody's moving east. Then they're going 115. You keep going and gone down, and now I think it's coming back up. So
104. 104 is another example of on the outskirts. I think the central core of 104 has always been good, but on the edges, it's been tough. And now you're seeing a transformation, right?
Yeah.
Remember Lamar?
I swear we're going to be sitting here in 2021 and you're going to be like, I told you about that Lamar.
We had a guy call us the other day that we own one right off of Lamar, wanting to buy it. And I know it's because he's speculative of thinking it's going to be a good thing. And, we didn't sell it, but because it's doing a good rental.
So you're saying now there's a party of two with this thought process?
That's right. That's right. There's more of us out there.
Your wolf pack has grown by one.
That's right.
All right.
But, going towards Jackson, people are starting to push to Jackson. So that area has gone from back in the heyday, it was really good. Then it took a nosedive, and now it's coming back up.
People are always going to be searching for deals.
Yeah.
Wherever they go, it's going to swell, it's going to shrink, it's going to swell. They're going to be searching for deals. Let's dive into. Go ahead. You have something?
No, 117 comes to mind.
Yeah, that is a good one. We're going to hit that one in just a second. All right, let's dive into these. 38118.
Yeah.
It's just south of the airport. It can be a little east of the airport as well, but it's right around there. One of the good things, solid houses, 3-2s. They're one level homes for the most part.
Yeah, ranch style.
Yeah, brick houses. And one of the reasons why I favored this zip code is because of the jobs at the airport. Everybody knows here, FedEx World Headquarters is here, International Paper, UPS has got a big presence at the airport. Tons of jobs, tons of blue-collar jobs. So over in that area, you like to play the analytics a little bit and say, okay, well, somebody must have had to pass a drug test if they're working at the airport. Dual incomes usually that are over there, they're both working at the airport. I mean, that's not to say you can't find a bad apple in that group, but if you're playing the analytics and trying to look at the community, that's one of the reasons why I kind of fell for it. Yeah, I've got some investors that are having a lot of success over there. Yeah. What's some of the bad that you see in 38118?
The two things that come to mind just from on the downside, and this is where you have to know street by street and area pockets. Is that it is high rental, more high rental than it has been in years past. It was a predominantly retail homeowner area.
Yep.
And then you just got this younger population in certain pockets. And you're like, what does that mean? Well, go ahead. What does that mean to you?
Younger population of tenants?
Well,
less
kids,
pride of living the community. They're not connected as much as some of the older people might be. Kids.
They're not working.
Vandalism.
Hanging out in the streets.
Yeah.
What is the devil's mind at work when you're, when it's, mind's idle.
Hands is the devil's workshop.
Yep. So that's the only concern I have is when you're driving through certain pockets, it's just knowing, and I think I told you that statistic, because, top of mind of just the fact that there's 40,000 kids between 18 and 24 in Memphis that are not working and are not in a school.
If you want to know the answer and the reason of our crime, that's it right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's 40,000 people running around with nothing to do.
I mean, yeah, and so we got to be part of that solution. Not to get off on a tangent, but that is a bad thing. But how can we make that?
How do you fix
it? What can we do to get those guys and girls to
back to work,
get an education, get a skilled trade?
We've talked about this before with zip codes, where I've always thought where there's no hope, then the chance of success for anybody in those zip codes is limited. If you don't have hope and you don't see someone older than you succeed or someone around you succeed, and you just think that's the way of life, then that's what it turns into.
And that's, and we might get into that later. I mean, especially the zip code my story is about, but there's certain zip codes that we really kind of need to move on from in Memphis. if we're going to focus efforts on beautifying and jobs and all that kind of stuff, there's a few that
just can't be brought back. Is that what you're saying?
it's too far gone right now versus a 38118 or some of the others we're going to talk about
you could bring
that
back.
you could keep elevating. You know what I mean? Some good things going on, but you keep elevating. It's got some momentum, so you can get behind it.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And then another area of 38118 that I'd caution you on is north of Winchester and east of the airport. So there's a pocket over there where the rent is low. You hear the airplanes landing, and it's just a tough area. So if you have any questions about any of this, of course you can email and contact us after the show. All right, 38116, which is just east. No, it's just west of 38118.
Yeah.
Highway 55 runs right down through the middle of 118 and 116.
3rd Street.
3rd Street. You can go all the way over right to 3rd. Well, does 116 go to 3rd?
No,
I don't think
actually,
it does.
I'm
It's
sorry.
109.
109, yeah.
So you'll get 116, which is Whitehaven, Elvis Presley, Graceland.
Yeah.
We mentioned it just a little bit here. A mixed bag of tricks, so to speak, in Whitehaven. We just talked about it. 3,000 square foot homes. You guys own one of those.
Yeah.
And you can go all the way down to your 1,000 square foot homes, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. So you get a very mixed. I mean, we've got on our notes here, multifamily is extremely competitive. So lots of apartments and lots of different things that are over in Whitehaven to choose from.
I wish I knew the history on the multifamily. I guess because it was thriving back in the day.
That's why.
That people built apartments left and right. So
That's
when
why
you
they're
go
out
down
Cordova.
there.
Same thing.
Gotcha.
The more people want to live, more people want to go there. It was safe.
Yeah.
You want to, if you're living in an apartment, you want to be in a higher end apartment. Area.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it out in Cordova, and even in, moving into Arlington. I don't know how much apartments I have, but into Cordova, there's a ton of apartments in Cordova. A ton. Well, because when they developed that area, it was new restaurants, mall. People wanted to be out there. Same thing in Whitehaven, but it was 40 years ago. So they built those properties over there. Now you've got all kinds of options. There's condos. I sold a condo last week in Whitehaven. So you get a wide range in Whitehaven. So I'm more cautious in the world. I'm more careful on the exact product that I choose over there. A lot of success though. Good, solid properties. So
every house has been good. Apartments is just tougher because of you cannot. People call me about the value add in Whitehaven on an apartment. It's like, yes, but the rents are capped, in my opinion. Unless you do something crazy, and then it's like, well, are people going to pay for that value? You know what I mean? Like a 2-bedroom is a $550 rent. It's not going to vary too much off that path. Maybe $500 to $600. Like,
you're not going to get $750,
$800. Yeah, like that's just not right now.
That's right.
So there's just because of abundance of apartments. But.